So you want to start playing Apex Legends. Maybe you saw your favorite streamer playing the game.
That is the hardest game I've ever played in my life.
Or maybe your friends told you to install. If you're getting into Apex Legends and you're trying to figure out where to start, I got the fully inclusive showcase for you. So let's just get straight into it. First off, prepare to queue, and die, and again and again and again. This game is not easy, and you should prepare for a little bit of suffering before you make it to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Let's assume you are ready for that pain, and let's answer the straightforward question. How do I get better? I'm not going to give you a tutorial on how to aim and how to shoot people, but what I will give you is the tutorial on how to play this battle royale. Let's start with your drop spot. Where should you land on any of these several maps that have so many different POIs? Short answer, it doesn't matter. Yes, there is a higher tier loot drop areas and lower tier loot drop areas, hot drops and empty drops, and especially when you're starting out, none of these will actually matter enough to make a difference. Next would be the looting. Yes, there are meta weapons you can play, and the meta weapons are great. No problem in using those. However, it is really whatever you feel most comfortable playing with. A great setup for anyone would be to run a nice marksman rifle or assault rifle for your primary weapon. Then some easy standouts for primary weapons would be like semi-automatic rifles such as the 30-30 repeater, the scout, or maybe even a bow. The guns that take a little bit of extra ability use beyond that would be the R301 and the Nemesis, but those are still amazing options, and I would also recommend using those. When you're using these guns, your best course of actions is to spray the gun rather than tap the gun. I see a lot of new players just tap shoot these automatic weapons, and it's a bad idea. The goal is to get out as many bullets as you possibly can. You have a higher likelihood of dealing more damage. Moving to your secondary weapon, I would recommend any SMG you feel comfortable with, at least in the current meta. Shotguns are also great, but they are much weaker in our current season and are much less forgiving when you are in an aim duel. If you miss one shot, you're done. Now, a question everyone is always asking: what legend should I play? The answer is simple and it's complicated. How do you like to play the game? Do you like to push? Do you like to be a bit more reserved? Do you like to wait for the fights to come to you, or do you like to pick the fights? Whenever you're picking a legend, try and understand how you play. Also try to be self-aware of your own ability. I don't think that the weakest player in the squad should be picking a character like Octane. They will get much less value out of it versus someone who wins a lot of aim duels. Being bad doesn't automatically mean play a support character or a control character. You can add a lot of value playing a character that outputs damage but doesn't need to commit to a fight first. Some quick examples would be Fuse or Maggie. They're great at putting out damage, but they don't need to be the first one in or even the main damage output. The next question, how do we win in a battle royale? Simply put, you have to be the last one standing, right? Easier said than done. Let's break this down into 3 separate time slots: the early game, the mid game, and the end game. Early game, we are just looting. One key item when we are in the early game is that we do not need to grab every single piece of loot in the POI that we drop in. Get your essentials, get the majority, and leave. If your teammates have already looted something, do not re-loot it. By the time Zone 1 starts closing, you should be able to rotate off to your next POI or area you want to go. Maybe grab an Evo Harvester and get your shield up, or position yourself for zone. Moving on to the mid game. Let's assume that we are in the mid game and we want to get to the other side of the map for the zone. If we are okay with fighting, we can just take a rather direct route there and take some fights along the way. Or we can take the edge of the map rotation options, which would be considered the path of least resistance. One critical thing about Apex, the team that isn't pushing or isn't on the front foot is typically the losing team. That changes as you get to a higher ranking in the game, but it's still mostly true. Now we're in the end game. We have gotten to the zone and we are holding a larger amount of space going into that zone 4 or 5. What's important here is that high ground will almost always be your best friend. The team playing ultimate height will typically be in the best position. Also, be super careful of taking fights in the end game. When taking a fight, just be thinking, can I get third partied? If you can get third party, it's probably not the strongest play to make. Prioritize getting the better position versus getting kills. The kills will come automatically if you have a better position. If there's a team playing a spot you want, the benefit from fighting them and taking their spot is absolutely worth it, even if you lose. The risk reward is completely on your side with that. Another hypothetical I want to go over: if there are 4 teams remaining and 2 teams start hard fighting, if you third party them, be aware that there is one team watching it all happen, and they will likely be the winner of the game. If those 2 teams start fighting, take the other 3v3 and fight the other team doing nothing. That way you have 2 separate 3v3s going on the map, and depending on which of the 2 teams finish the fight first, will typically be the team that wins. If you win that 3v3 first, you can heal and get your third party ready and finish off the weak team before they heal. You are the champion. Now we have talked about everything that we can talk about, and the only real thing left to talk about is the intricacies of fighting. None of this matters if we lose every single fight. Apex Legends is not a battle royale where you can just sit in the box and wait for the end game to come to you. Every single fight starts as a 3 versus 3. Especially if you are solo queuing, your number one priority is to play your life. So long as everyone plays to not die, you'll win most of your fights. Okay. Obviously, don't die, right? But I'm talking about not depending on your teammates to win a 2v2 or a 1v1. If you are close to dying, let your teammates fight and you heal up. You're worth more at full shield and half health versus 3 of them versus putting them into a 2v2 and risking that 2v2, leaving it in the hands of your teammate. A big element of taking fights is team shooting. If your team is grouped up, focusing fire on one guy will open the fight up instantly. 3v2 right away. A big part of fighting close range is swinging with your teammates. You can count it down as to when you should swing, or you can be the teammate playing behind the other and watching for him to swing and just follow with them as they swing. Well, anyways, those are all of my basic tips for Apex Legends. If you learned something, please like this video. It helps me make more videos like this one. If you're curious about some other aspects of the game that I didn't touch on, leave a comment and I will take a look. I read all the comments, so don't be shy. But if you really enjoyed the video, I would love to have you subscribe and join my community. I am small but quick growing, so hop in early. Thanks for watching.